Aerodynamics. It is a term we all know the meaning of, but only some people know what it really means and why is it useful for several types of automobiles. Have you ever thought about why lift and drag are so important? Why do engineers want to maximize the downforce whilst minimize the drag which the vehicle produces? So hello and welcome to F1 Motorsports. Today we will talk about how aerodynamics affects F1 cars and why is it so important in every sport and how it ultimately affects today's road cars design. But before we get started, I want you to watch this video carefully and observe what happens in these crashes. If you have watched this video carefully, you would notice one thing very clearly, that the cars were literally flying. Normally, if this kind of crashes happen, the cars do not fly. Then what is happening in these accidents? It is not like someone is pushing the car into the air, is it? Well, that is correct. The push that these cars get is not because of any physical force by any other cars, but due to the force of the air. What? I know you would ask, Mihir, how can air push these cars up in the air so high that they lose the contact with the ground? Well, if you remember, in a recent video I explained how drag and lift are proportional to the square to the velocity. So at higher speeds, the force of the air is very high compared to the lower speed. You can watch this video by clicking here in the right hand side corner. Now before I can explain why these crashes are happening, you need to know how downforce is generated. You see, race cars are designed very carefully so that they can generate downforce. To generate downforce, there should be a pressure difference below and above the car. The air pressure below the car should be less than the pressure above the car. The bigger the difference, the higher the downforce. In technical terms, we call it negative lift. The pressure difference is mainly because of Bernoulli's principle. It loosely states that for an incompressible fluid, when it flows in a continuous stream, the pressure of the fluid decreases with an increase in the velocity and vice versa. So if you want to create a pressure difference between two regions of the car, there should be a difference in velocity in those regions. If you consider an inverted airfoil, which race cars use as their front wing and rear wing, the air beneath the airfoil moves faster. Hence the pressure is lower in those areas compared to the slow moving air above the airfoil. Now, if you keep increasing the angle of attack, in simple terms, angle of the airfoil, at one point the airfoil will stall, losing all the downforce and in fact creating positive lift while being in that position. Now, if you observed in those videos, the front end of the car are rising just before they lift off from the ground. Older racing cars were designed like inverted airfoils so that the whole body can create downforce. The idea seems great on the table, but the cons of these ideas are apparent when you see these crashes. Imagine how much force would be applied to a vehicle which is traveling at a speed of 200 or even 250 km per hour. When the angle of these cars is higher than expected, the air starts to push the car above the ground and crashes like this happen. That is the main reason why aerodynamics is so important for race cars and why engineers design it with utmost care. I hope you understood how much damage incorrect flow or bad flow of car can do to race cars. Now let's look at how aerodynamics helps the car. We'll start with comparing two cars. One is Bugatti Veyron and another is modern day F1 car. There is a similarity between these two cars: power. Both of these cars can make around 1000 horsepower, but even with the same power, Veyron cannot take Spa's famous EU Rogue at the same speed as the F1 car can take. Well, what is the reason? There are two reasons: power to weight ratio and traction. While Veyron has a PW ratio of 0.6 horsepower per kg and F1 has a PW ratio of 1.3 horsepower per kg. Now say if you somehow bring up the PW ratio of Veyron to match an F1 car, there would still be another problem: traction. This is where aerodynamics comes in. When a car takes a turn, centrifugal force pulls the car outside of the turn. So let's say if you turn the car to the right, you will feel a pulling force in the left direction. When this pull overpowers the traction of the wheels, the car can slide or even topple if done wrong. What downforce does is it pushes down the car. To be precise, downforce is a force on the wheels which acts vertically downwards by acting as an extra weight. This extra force prevents the car from slipping even at those high speeds by increasing wheels traction. So by increasing downforce, you can take tighter turns at higher speeds. This was a very simple explanation of how downforce helps. There are many other factors which needs to be considered while you add downforce to the car. For example, like aerobalance, the placement of the aerodynamic elements, etc. We might explore those in-depth topics in future, so if you don't want to miss out on those future videos, subscribe to Found Motorsports now. Like now. Okay, now we come to the last question of this video. How aerodynamics affects the road car's design? Well, normal road cars like a Swift or Toyota does not require downforce, but they do need one thing, is to decrease drag to increase the mileage of the car. So designers keep this point in mind and design the car around this requirement. And you can also see some design inspiration from sports cars in today's road cars which help to achieve this goal. For example, if you look at the backside of the Hyundai Creta, you can easily see a shape similar to the diffuser on its bumper. This shape is not at all for aesthetic purposes. This slope-like shape helps decrease the wake of the car, ultimately decreasing the drag that pulls the car back. Also, in Creta, there is a small device on the backside edge of the roof. Some people think it's just an antenna. Well, they are not wrong. But why is it shaped that way? You see, the outer body of antenna is designed in such a way that it creates vortices of the car. Just before the flow detaches from the body, these vortices keep the flow attached to the body. This helps in decreasing drag as well. There are many such other devices or body features on road cars which help in decreasing drag and increasing the fuel economy of the car. There you have it. Now you know why aerodynamics is so important and how it affects the design of today's road cars. If you found this information helpful, like this video to show your appreciation and comment down below your thoughts. My name is Mihir and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.